So Catacombs is a tabletop game that takes the prehistoric, almost fossilized concept of fantasy heroes rushing their way through a dungeon and fighting monsters and takes it to the laundromat and freshens it up for you, presents it brand new.
Okay, so 1 to 4 players control a team of witheringly ugly vitamin D deficient heroes battling some great evil. Another player takes the control of the evil itself, controlling all the monsters in the dungeon over a series of 5 increasingly difficult rooms.
But you don't play Catacombs by drawing cards from a deck and collecting tokens and rolling dice. It's a game that turns your fingertips into deadly weapons, because every dungeon level isn't a level, it's an arena, and you're flicking yourself around like a heroic hockey puck, or like you're playing Subterranean Sabutio. You do everything by flicking. You want to get somewhere, right, you flick your character. You want to attack a monster, you flick yourself at it. You want to take on 2, well, okay, if you can flick yourself at both of them. You want to fire your arrows, then you put a little arrow token next to your hero and you flick away, and inevitably this is nonsense. It just results in your malnourished heroes careening their way around, whacking into pillars, tackling themselves into fires. You put an arrow in your bow and it twangs off sideways off the board. And it's up to you whether you think this concept is brilliant or just mad and stupid, but you have to admit it's different. And if you're, you know, one of those people who doesn't take your board gaming too seriously, it can be an awful lot of fun.
Okay, maybe you're already seeing problems with this concept. Quinns, what if the tokens fly off the board? Or what if a single monster goes careening around the hero team like the rabbit from Monty Python and the Holy Grail? What if Catacombs is all about this kind of physical absurdity? It's about somebody trying to take out a skeleton and knocking out one of the game's theoretically immovable stone pillars. It's about somebody picking an arrow off the wizard's forehead and into a demon. Is that a legal move? Of course it is. And all this game has to say for itself is, I don't know, man. I was high for most of the noughties. I don't even know how I got made. But it's fun, isn't it? Well,
absolutely it's fun. This is a game that for once just completely embraces its physicality, and it's a game that you can learn the rules for in minutes and be having fun with in seconds.
Oh.
But Catacombs also works as an engaging, clever game. I mean, you want to obviously strike out at people, to hit them, to get rid of them, but you have to end your turn in cover to avoid retaliation. How are you going to do that? How are you going to deal with a monster that takes 2 hits in one turn to take it down? How are you going to do that? How are you going to deal with the monsters that are hiding behind walls of fire, or that spider that fires sticky webs at your team? And then there are all the special powers. There's barbarian rage, and there's elven arrow barrages, and there's magic spells like the wizard's magic shield, which is it's just a giant purple token, and it sits there on the board like a fat hippo spit bubble, and inevitably it's going to get knocked all over the place in this dungeon demolition derby.
Okay, so what we've established then is that Catacombs plays host to a combination that any board game designer would be envious of, which is that on the one hand, it's just a brain-dead good time, it makes everyone laugh. Yet on the other hand, it is incredibly accessible for how tactical it is because of that physicality. I don't care how much experience with board games the players have, that hero team will be poring over the board, scoping it out, like pool players looking at a messy break. They're going to be arguing about who should go where, who should go first, whether that player has the skill to make the shot he's talking about. And they'll be thumbing through their magic items and their powers that they've bought at incredible expense between levels.
To operate the lift, please press the button.
Press the button. Anyway, the game is inevitably going to go wrong for you at some point.
Oh, should we be in here?
You'll overshoot and you'll find yourself in a clutch of giant scorpions. How are your friends going to get you out of that? But also the game's capable of incredible moments of glory and achievement. You fire your magic missile all the way down the dungeon and you whack the fire demon who was pelting your party with fireballs, and the game is full of these little moments of heroism.
Yes, and the exact opposite. No one of alive, Paul and myself have seen the barbarian token upend itself and roll like a comedy unicycle between the 2 huge trolls he was aiming for. Come on now, doesn't this sound like fun to play as a hardcore game or as a drinking game? A game to take really seriously and spend hours practicing with? Or a casual game to bring out for fun?
Maybe not. Maybe you really want your heroes to remain.
All gate station ready to terminate. All change please, all change.
Maybe you want all your heroes just to remain in a grid and move 2 spaces a turn and
Maybe you prefer that your heroic feats are limited to drawing a heroic feat card from the heroic feat deck and letting that be your epitaph. But, you know, if this doesn't sound like it's for you, we won't think you're boring.
Well, actually we secretly might.
Yeah, we probably will. But if you do buy Catacombs and the first thing you do with it is to flick a token and send it rolling underneath the sofa, then you're one of us. You're a member of the Catacombs Club, and you're welcome anytime. Of course, to get the most out of Catacombs, you really want some expansions. This is the big one, Caverns of Soloth. Incidentally, another reason to love Catacombs is the 80s names for all the dungeons, which sound like European nightclubs often. Zotha's Gatehouse, Vale's Manse, the Breeding Pits.
The Breeding Pits.
Another thing is that the elf in the game is just an elf. That's her title, like she's between jobs or something. Anyway, Caverns of Soloth adds 4 new heroes, it adds new treasure, new rooms, but most importantly, lots of new monsters.
Oh, you're just excited because you're going to be the Overlord and you're going to get to play with all these new toys.
Yes, but you should be excited as players in general because monsters are the puzzle at the heart of Catacombs. In adding evasive monsters and mounted monsters and master monsters and monsters that cause volcanoes to pop on the board like pimples, this is just making the game more rich, more interesting. It's not just me. Also, if you're feeling more skinflint, then you can go for Hordes of Vermin. That's a smaller expansion than this that adds lots of tiny rats, tiny bats, and massive fireballs and massive wyverns, which are like a mini-boss. And then, if you're feeling even more skinflint, there's something called Dark Passageways, which adds weird additional rooms between dungeon rooms. Things like shortcuts and taverns.
What's a tavern doing in a dungeon?
I don't know! What is any of this weird stuff doing in the tube?
I think we go that way.